I think my favorite cope is the idea like, oh, no, they reached a deal. Like, everybody's chill now. Like you can just like do an attempted coup.
Prigozhin then demanded...
Those claims are also probably true. No shot. This can't be real.
Потому что вы можете там пушки чуть ли не на Москву развернуть, пойти там Кремль штурмовать и так далее. Ну, такие опасения, они насколько беспочвенны вообще?
Пойдем ли мы на Москву?
Ну, вот они говорят, ну как они, вот типа оправдывают, якобы, вот нельзя, ЧВК Вагнера, вот они достигли уже такой автономии, у Пригожина такие политические амбиции. Вот сейчас он возьмет свою, значит, эту частную армию, развернет и захватит власть в России.
Да, Семен, смотри, по поводу похода на Москву. Мысль интересная, но не думали.
Я не предлагал.
Нет, ну да, я...
There's this private military contractor named Wagner, run by this guy Prigozhin, who's very close, or was very close, to Putin. And he sent him on missions all over the world with his private army.
Get down.
They sent him to Ukraine because the regular Russian military was not doing well. And this Wagner group is full of convicted felons and criminals and murderers, but also professional soldiers. They're well-fed, they're well-equipped, and they actually outperform the Russian military. This guy Prigozhin, he likes attention.
Why is Rubio doing a farm? Oh, and this is so interesting. I approve so far. Let's see what he says.
Runs the Internet Research Agency, which was indicted for interfering in the U.S. elections in 2016. And he starts putting out videos showing how good his guys are compared to how bad the Russian military is. And so it creates even more friction on top of friction that already existed, by the way. There comes a point where Prigozhin basically realizes they're going to come after me. So I better go after them before they get me. And that's what he does. He moves on this town called Rostov-on-Don.
Wait, hold on. I missed the last 30 seconds. Sorry, 1 second.
Internet Research Agency, which was indicted for interfering in the U.S. elections in 2016. And he starts putting out videos showing how good his guys are compared to how bad the Russian military is. And so it creates even more friction on top of friction that already existed, by the way. There comes a point where Prigozhin basically realizes they're going to come after me. So I better go after them before they get me. And that's what he does. He moves on this town called Rostov-on-Don. That is where the headquarters are for the military's efforts in Ukraine. I think he was trying to go and capture at least the general in charge of the army, if not also the defense minister who was there earlier in the day. But those guys get away. And so he hasn't able to get them. So then he starts marching towards Moscow. And he gets to the outskirts when the president of Belarus, or the fake president of Belarus, somehow convinces him to take some off-ramp and back off. We don't know what promises were made. And I imagine Prigozhin's probably thinking at that point, I've embarrassed these guys enough, okay? I took their headquarters, I forced them to flee, I came to the outskirts of Moscow, they couldn't even protect Russia, much less how they're gonna win in Ukraine. I've embarrassed them in front of Putin, certainly now he's gonna fire them, like I've been asking him to do. And so whatever promises they made Prigozhin, he took that deal. But then Putin comes out today and says, we're not keeping any promises. You're going to face justice, and your fighters, if they don't break away from you, are also going to face justice. So they'll have a choice to make. And now we don't know what happens.
Don't worry,
next.
chat. Amarmavan just needs to invite someone from Destiny's harem to a wedding and ask her to fuck him. And Destiny will be there guaranteed feels okay, man.
Based.
But it's all speculation from here on out. But that's generally the lay of the land. It was probably best described as a coup against the Russian Ministry of Defense in the hopes of getting these people fired and I guess putting someone more loyal to him in that position. So far it didn't work. We'll see what happens.
Nice.
So in this video, we're going to take a look at Wagner's attempted coup, why Prigozhin turned around, and why, even if he survived this weekend, this is probably the beginning of the end for Putin.
I think my favorite cope from people like Vim and other tankies is the idea like, oh, no, they reached a deal. Like, everybody's chill now. Like, everybody's friendly. Everybody's happy again. Like, you can just, like, do an attempted coup against a dictator, start marching, rolling armor through streets of cities and shit, and, like, everything will be, like, hunky-dory if you guys just have, like, a sit-down and chat, and, like, everything will be cool in a, in a day or two. That's hilarious.
Putin wanted to limit the influence of the mercenaries, and most notably, their leader, Prigozhin, by bringing them into the regular Russian army. Now, obviously, this didn't go down well with Prigozhin, who responded to the announcement with a statement saying that while Wagner is subordinate to the interests of the Russian Federation, Wagner troops wouldn't be signing a contract with the Russian MOD because Russia's defense minister, Sergei Shoigu, cannot manage military formations. This isn't a new criticism either. For months now, Prigozhin has been criticizing the Russian military's tactics, And while he did avoid criticizing Putin directly, he still definitely went after the Russian army. Anyway, this statement...
Does the US also use mercenary groups when fighting wars? I don't believe we do to this extent. Like, I asked this question last time and some people were freaking out about like BlackRock, that we sometimes we'll have like very, very small, like private military contract groups, like very, very small. But the Wagner group is like a whole, what is it 20,000 plus troops? How large? We should look, we should just look so we know. I'm sorry, 50,000 plus troops. And these guys are deployed into actual, oh, only in Russia, okay. These guys are deployed into actual active like military conflict. It's not just doing security gigs and stuff. So no, I don't believe the United States utilizes stuff like this. However, I don't think it's necessarily bad to use, like I wouldn't be critical of Russia utilizing private military groups like this. I don't think that's necessarily bad. The issue, though, is that the Wagner group is involved in a lot of like not good stuff. A lot of the leaders are highly questionable in terms of like anti-Semitic influence and everything else. I'm pretty sure they were involved in a lot of nasty stuff in Syria. Blackwater, not BlackRock, sorry. But Russia always says, oh, that's not our guys. We don't do anything with Wagner group. So they use these private military groups as like plausible deniability. That's the issue with people like the Wagner group, in my opinion.
And was followed by a weird stunt where Prigozhin visited the Ministry of Defense in Moscow to hand in his notice. And then there was relative calm for a couple of weeks, with Prigozhin just repeating his usual talking points about the Russian army being useless and less effective than Wagner. That was until last Friday night, though, when Prigozhin accused the Russian Ministry of Defense of bombing a Wagner camp. In response, Prigozhin released a furious audio recording to his Telegram channel, warning that him and 25,000 Wagner troops were going to stage a
crazy
coup.
world.
Then, late on Friday evening and in the early hours of Saturday morning, Wagner troops actually crossed back into Russia and entered the Russian city of Rostov, an incredibly important city for the coordination of the war in Ukraine. From there, they directly seized control by occupying Russia's Southern Military Command headquarters. Prigozhin then released 2 videos from Rostov on his Telegram channel. In the first one, he's talking to Russia's deputy defense minister, who looks pretty terrified and claims that he's trying to save Russia. In the second, he says that the military command is still functioning and that Wagner have found documents confirming that the Russian army has lost 3 to 4 times as many men as they claimed. Prigozhin then demanded...
Those claims are also probably true. It seems like, because I'm pretty sure the Wagner group has been very active in a lot of foreign Russian military expeditions. I'm pretty sure they were highly active in Syria. The Wagner group is, from all I've seen and heard, which is not much, to be clear, because I haven't done a ton of deep dive into Wagner group stuff, but from what I've heard, they probably are far more capable and lethal, man per man, dollar per dollar for equipment, than the actual Russian military is. That's probably true. People are saying they're active and super active in Africa as well.
Talks with Gerasimov and Shoigu, warning that, quote, until they're here, we'll stay, block off Rostov, and head to Moscow. In response to all of this, Putin gave an emergency speech on Russian state television, where he accused Prigozhin of treason. Wagner responded to this by saying that Putin had made, quote, the wrong decision.
По поводу предательства Родины президент глубоко ошибся. Мы патриоты своей Родины. Мы воевали и воюем. Все бойцы ЧВК «Вагнер». И никто не собирается по требованию президента ФСБ или еще кого-нибудь прийти с повинной. Потому что мы не хотим, чтобы страна жила дальше в коррупции, в обмане и в бюрократии. Когда мы воевали в Африке, нам говорили о том, что нам нужна Африка, а после этого ее бросили, потому что разворовали все деньги, которые должны были идти на помощь. Когда нам говорили о том, что мы воюем с Украиной, мы шли и воевали. Но выяснилось, что боеприпасы, вооружение, все деньги, которые были положены на них, также разворовываются, а чинуши сидят, экономят их для себя, как раз для того случая, который наступил сегодня – когда кто-то идет на Москву. Теперь они не экономят ничего. Они бьют самолетами и вертолетами по колоннам, где идет мирняк. При этом бьют по мирняку, потому что не попадают. И бьют куда попало. Поэтому мы патриоты. А те, кто сегодня нам противостоит, это те, кто собрались вокруг подонков.
And that Russia would have a new president soon. Not long after, still on Saturday morning, Wagner troops moved north along the M4 highway from Rostov to Moscow, entering the Voronezh Oblast, which lies just 500 kilometers south of Moscow. Now, it's not entirely clear what happened from here, but from the open source intelligence available, it looks like a couple of Russian aviation assets were sent to push Wagner back. But in the end, Wagner shot down at least one Russian helicopter. And interestingly, the only group which really seems interested in opposing Wagner is Ramzan Kadyrov's Chechen, who entered Rostov on Saturday afternoon. Regardless, the Russian army didn't just roll over, despite the reticence to fight Wagner, with security services trying everything to prevent Wagner's advance along the highway, including blocking the road with dumpsters full of sand and literally digging up the road. But Wagner either bulldozed through or just took an alternative route. In the end, in anticipation of Wagner's arrival, police in Moscow even built machine gun barricades. And air traffic data suggests that Putin fled Moscow for St. Petersburg, predicting their arrival. However, at about 3 p.m. on Saturday, with Wagner troops less than 250 kilometers south of Moscow, Prigozhin suddenly announced via an audio message on Telegram that they would be turning round to, quote, avoid blood being spilled. It's worth mentioning here that when Prigozhin says blood, he's talking specifically about Wagner blood, because while no Wagner troops have been killed, reports suggest that at least some Russian troops were killed during this exercise. Regardless, according to the Belarusian Foreign Ministry, a deal was negotiated by Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, a man who's not only friends with Putin, but has also known Prigozhin for over 20 years. And the terms of this deal were disclosed by the Kremlin a few hours later. Firstly, Prigozhin and those Wagner troops that took part in the mutiny will receive legal immunity, and Prigozhin will go to Belarus as a sort of friendly exile for a bit. Secondly, the Wagner troops who didn't take part will be folded into the regular...
Wait, real quick. When do, am I ever going to get to make bigger, like, skulls or rubies? Or is this, like, is this the maximum? This can't be the maximum gem level you can get is 50, right? There must be something, a higher tier than this, no? It goes, Royal is max. Okay. Every 10 levels it goes up by 1.
As originally planned. And thirdly, there was some suggestion that Shoigu and even possibly Gerasimov could be removed from their posts as Wagner wanted. But this hasn't yet been confirmed. Now, admittedly, there are still more questions than answers here. But whatever happens next, it looks like this could be the beginning of the end for Putin. Wagner's mutiny was a complete humiliation for him, and it's clear that his authority in Russia has been fatally undermined. Rostov citizens even cheered when Wagner forces were leaving and jeered as the police returned. And to make matters worse, all of this will do terrible things to the Russian army's morale. And it's hard to see how Wagner could really be folded into the regular Russian army at this point. After all, they literally shot down Russian Air Force jets, and they got away with it. And not only that, the last few days have made it abundantly clear that Wagner thinks that they're better than the regular Russian troops. In a sense, though, this is Putin reaping what he sowed. If you give a lunatic criminal chef his own private army, which you rely on disproportionately, well, you're asking for trouble.
He was arrested and charged with simple assault and terroristic threats. Following his arrest, he was transported to the DeKalb County Jail.
Let's go to the SWAT car, please. That way.
Why is it happening? I'm being arrested?
Yes.
For what?
For what?
I'll be with you. Just 1 second.
I just want to
But still, I will need for you to fill out a statement for him.
I don't want him arrested. I just want him to leave us alone.
I know, but he had a weapon on him, and it was terrorist threats.
Brandishing is not a crime with a knife. Brandishing is only a crime for a gun.
Terroristic threats, though, sir.
Because he said die to me and had his knife out?
What, all that was done. The threats, everything. Let me get a statement.
If I thought you were going to arrest him, I wouldn't call. I just wanted to leave us alone.
I understand, but still have a job to do.
Now he's gonna think I'm doing this because I'm white and he's black.
No shot. This can't be real. No shot. It can't be. This can't be real. It can't be real. This can't be real. This can't be a real video. It has to be an Eric Andre skit or something. Or Tim and Eric or whatever. This cannot be real.
Not.
Who's there?
Oh,
Obama.
He's gonna think I'm doing this because I'm white and he's black. Or he's homeless and I'm not. I don't want that.
But did he do what he did?
Yeah, but I don't want him thinking I did it because he's in whatever situation he's in. I just want him to leave us alone.
I doubt that. I'll be right back, okay?
It.
white people gonna need another January 6th to come back from this one.
Oh, fucking true. The guy in the video is actually fucking based. I just read the best conspiracy ever. That's true. The guy in the video actually hates black people. But what he's thinking is like, fuck, I just called the cops and got this black dude arrested. Somebody might get me on video, like being racist because calling the cops is racist. But if I cry preemptively, then I can show that I never actually wanted the guy arrested in the first place. Oh my,
shoot me now, shoot me now, shoot me now, shoot me now, shoot me now.
This is the new meta. It's the new meta for calling the cops. If you call the cops on anybody and they happen to be black and get arrested, you just have to get a video of you crying about it because you didn't actually want that to happen. Oh my God. We're playing chess in like 7 dimensions right now.